Welcome back to Movies TV Mad. You can follow me on Twitter at Movies TV Mad. Smash that like button if you love me. Subscribe if you're new. Please have your say, and a very warm welcome to Saturday's edition of the DC Universe Daily. So there's a bit to get through today. We do have some updates for you. So let me just take a look on the stuff that I've jotted down so I don't miss anything. So these are your headlines today. So we have Superman casting. Now this is very interesting because James Gunn has confirmed via social media that he does have some good options for Superman Legacy and casting Superman, and he feels relieved. Why he feels relieved, I don't know. David Zaslav, the CEO of Warner Brothers Discovery, will attend CinemaCon on Tuesday. Now this is very, very rare for a CEO of a studio, I mean Warner Brothers or Disney, not DC Studios, turning up at a convention like this. He's going to be making the WB and DC announcements. Will James Gunn be there? Don't forget, he's in the middle of marketing Guardians Volume 3, because apparently they're going to announce the rest of the Gods and Monsters slate as well as showing the Flash movie. So Tuesday is a day of destiny. If you're a DC fan, what will we know publicly? Very, very interesting. And Superman Legacy has attached a costume designer for the movie. So personally, the best superhero costume designer around now is Michael Wilkinson that Snyder used in the Snyderverse. So Gunn is using the female costume designer he uses on the Guardians trilogy, Suicide Squad, and his stuff. Now, personally, I think she does really, really good work, but she ain't Michael Wilkinson, who's the best. Superman deserves the best. So it's a little bit of a concern for me, but I do think she's good at her job, and we'll see what she designs for Superman and the Kryptonians and Lois and Jimmy. So it'll be very, very interesting. So yeah, it's a very, very interesting situation. So I believe, right, so they're your headlines, and we'll get into those headlines. But I do believe that I nearly said Henry Cavill, because I've got him on my mind and I want to talk about him as well. But I do believe that James Gunn has actually already decided who he's going to cast as Superman. I repeat, I believe the casting for Superman, the decision has already been made. I have a lot of friends who are scoopers. I have a lot of friends who have more successful YouTube platforms than I do. They're all saying to me, Mick, it's done. And now they've thrown a few names at me. I'm not going to echo those names because those names were reiterated to me in confidence. There's some controversial names there. There's some good names there. And we'll see what happens, because I believe it's a possibility that on Tuesday, James Gunn's casting for Superman in Superman Legacy, in his DC universe, in his brand new DC studios, along with Peter Safran, will be announced. He's going to announce, I believe, who his Superman's going to be very quickly. This film is now in pre-production. After the marketing of Guardians Volume 3, he will be all in for the next 2 years, right, in making this movie. I still have my doubts. I have a lot of concerns. They released another clip of Guardians Volume 3. It was another humorous scene. You know, the awkward, cringy comedy that James does sometimes. I don't particularly find a lot of his comedy funny. Sometimes I do. And as I said yesterday, that does concern me, him using his type of humour. But we'll see. Hopefully he understands he has to be a little bit more mature with Superman. We will see. You know, we've seen directors do certain kind of genres before, horror and coming to superheroes. And their movies haven't been horrors, right? So, you know, I'm not saying that James Gunn isn't capable of doing something different. I've just never seen him do anything different. So that's where the concerns are for me. Now, the reason I want to talk about Henry Cavill, because I think that it's very interesting that David Zaslav is going to be at CinemaCon. So why, Mick? Why is he going to be at CinemaCon doing this presentation if it isn't a normal thing for a studio CEO to be at a thing like CinemaCon? CinemaCon's really a media convention more than a fan convention. I think there will be some very, let's say, popular fans there. I don't know how CinemaCon works. I don't think it's a normal Comic-Con kind of convention. Of course, journalists are also at San Diego Comic-Con. But this seems like a place where you publicize what you're going to make, what you're going to release. So either David Zaslav's there because he's very, very nervous. Shazam! Fury of the Gods, I mean, they never thought it wouldn't make any money whatsoever. Nobody did. I didn't think that. It's a solid, okay movie. It's not great. It's a little bit worse than the first movie, if you like. And yes, it had problems, but I think it was good enough to at least, be a $300 million global hit. Because the movie cost apparently 120 to 125 million to make. So 300 million would have been a good solid win for the studio. They get their money back and just an itsy bitsy little bits, teeny weeny bit of a profit. But it didn't work out. So they're nervous. But it could also be that David Zaslav has a huge announcement to make at CinemaCon. And I don't know what that is. And I did ask the question earlier, will James Gunn be at CinemaCon? It's a big deal for DC Studios. There's no question about that. But the man is promoting his final Marvel Cinematic Universe movie, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. It's important. This movie has been projected to make 130 million in its opening weekend. Again, is that domestic? I'm not sure. I think it's, let's say it's domestic, right? Or at least we think it is. It could be global. Who knows? But it could open up less than that. So they really have to do their work properly. So I think it's available in China as well. So, this is probably their one chance to have a big hit, to have $1 billion movie over at Disney this year, because I think the rest of the shit they're going to release has got no chance, including Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. Another Disney project, another new Hollywood project, rewriting Hollywood and great movie making history. The Dial of Destiny makes time travel possible. That's the whole point. So they can go back and rewrite Indiana Jones history. So that movie is going to upset people and it's going to be a disaster. So I don't know if James Gunn is going to be at CinemaCon. I have no idea. I don't know. Will he post something on his social media during CinemaCon? Is that the way he's going to do it? Because I can't see him being at CinemaCon, considering he's promoting Guardians Volume 3. But he is a guy who seems to be able to be everywhere at the same time. Who said men can't multitask, right? James is always talking to fans, making his stuff. He's pretty amazing in that sense of his work ethic. I will say that he's a very hard worker. I don't think he's a perfect guy. I am concerned about him being with DC. I'm not going to pretend I haven't got concerns. And, when he was first announced, I was very excited when I heard he was doing Superman. I was very excited. Then my excitement turned to logic and common sense, and my concerns are there. And I think, my concerns are valid. And I think, the way my concerns that I've told you about, the way he makes stuff, we are talking about Superman here. So my concerns are definitely valid, but hopefully they don't come to fruition. And James Gunn realizes he has to be more mature within his writing and his directing, or this Superman movie in this new DC universe is not going to work. And so, yes, I can't wait to see the kind of costumes that his person's going to mock up. But I definitely think he's decided. He has cast his Superman. And as I say, it could be a really big day. This could be the reason Zaslav is at CinemaCon, because they're going to announce who's going to play Superman. Think about this. The new Superman could have been inserted into the Flash movie. And maybe that bullshit about George Clooney and George Clooney's universe is to cover that situation. Maybe when Barry Allen wakes up, he gets arrested in the new timeline. Maybe Superman bails him out. I don't know. I don't know. So for Zaslav to be there, it's a big deal. And let's make no mistake, as David has said himself, Superman is the most important character for them, for WB. This Superman movie is so important because it either destroys Warner Brothers Discovery or it puts them back on the map. Zaslav's plans have to come to fruition. A DC semi-reboot, a Harry Potter full reboot, on television, on streaming. These plans have to come to fruition. Now, I don't have a lot of faith in these plans, but they could work. After all, I don't work in the mainstream industry, right? I'm just someone who writes plays and directs plays and, acts in plays. I'm not anything special. I went to Hollywood, I didn't make it. I have to take that on the chin, right? I'm not bitter about that situation. So surely I would imagine that they know more than me. They know the right things to do. Well, let's look at Hollywood today, New Hollywood, if they know more than me and you. The Last Jedi, Solo, a Star Wars story, every Star Wars D+ show. Do they know more than us? Yoda is one of the most popular characters in George Lucas's Star Wars universe. Why hasn't he got his own movie? Why hasn't he got his own D+ show? Are you joking? You'd be printing fucking money. No, we got Baby Yoda instead. So I think that me and you know more than these people do. And we got some pretty good ideas. I think the fans have been watching entertainment for years, reading comics, right? Playing games. I think we know stuff. We're experienced. We've got the most experience of anyone because we fucking sample the shit. Is there anyone who knows more about cheese than someone who fucking eats cheese, right? Come on. And knows what the best cheese is. Come on. A wine taster. Things like that. So I suppose we've got to trust David Zaslav and James Gunn and Peter Safran. I don't trust them. I can't trust them until they give me evidence that I can trust them. Right now, I don't trust them because they told me Henry Cavill was going to play Superman, and now, officially, he's not going to be James Gunn's Superman. But there's some very interesting things going on behind the scenes, and whispers I'm getting that I'm being told that Henry Cavill isn't done as Superman. Now, of course, I take this shit with a pinch of salt. This would make me the happiest person ever. I wouldn't, I would be jumping about. I'd do an ice bucket challenge in front of you, fucking naked. I don't care if I get banned. That's how happy I would be. I'd be drinking champagne, smoking on YouTube. I'd be going, yeah, baby, Cavill's back. Of course, I'm a big Henry Cavill fan. But of course, I don't believe any of this shit until I see it. And so, it's obviously unbelievable that Henry Cavill would be James Gunn's Superman. I don't think this is the case. But I do kind of have some hope that maybe Henry Cavill could be the DC Elseworlds Superman. That he could get, his Superman could be in DC Elseworlds, in a standalone movie, or maybe in standalone movies. And maybe something's happened there. I think that's the option. If you want Cavill to return as Superman, it's going to be over at DC Elseworlds and not in the DC universe. I mean, look, if James Gunn was to announce Henry Cavill as Superman after officially removing him, it would be nuts. Let's just look at the history of Henry Cavill as Superman. Now, Henry was announced back in 2012, 2011, I think, just after Smallville finished on the CW as the new Superman. We saw him in 2013's Man of Steel, Batman vs. Superman, Dawn of Justice, Zack Snyder's Justice League, and Justice League. Now, after Justice League, because things didn't go too well, Henry Cavill's Superman was benched. So he wasn't fired officially, but he was benched, but told his fans, us, that the cake was still in the closet. In last year's Black Adam, he surprisingly turned up in a post-credit scene that even more surprisingly announced he was back as Superman. A few months later, James Gunn took over DC Studios and told us that Henry Cavill would not be his Superman. At the same time telling us he didn't fire Henry Cavill and Henry Cavill could play another role in DC Universe. He also told us that Ben Affleck was in talks to direct the DC Universe movie. Now, Ben Affleck told us never in a month of Sundays. That will never happen. So, you know, that made James Gunn look disingenuous. So that's the history of Henry Cavill. But as I've said many times, Henry Cavill is a very difficult person to remove as Superman. Why? Because he's fucking popular as Superman. Henry, the person, did nothing wrong apart from being passionate and trying to make sure that these people, made sure that these people gave him the opportunity to be the best Superman possible and the most accurate, traditional Superman possible. And that was the problem that Henry had. He was playing a version of Superman in films that were divisive. That was nothing to do with Henry. Now, I like Zack Snyder's divisive Snyderverse. I like his films. I don't have an issue. But there are people, understandably, who do have issues with Zack's versions of Superman and Batman. I think most people agree that his version of Wonder Woman is pretty accurate to the comics, more accurate than what Patty Jenkins did in Wonder Woman 84 and the way we saw her as David F. Sandberg photographed her in Shazam! Fury of the Gods. I mean, that was just a mockery. I mean, what was all that cringy smile about? And there's even rumours she wasn't even there, that it was a CGI rendering. He denies that, of course. What a mess the DCEU was and is. What a mess this studio is. Bringing Henry back, then removing him. Oh, we didn't fire him. But yeah, again, there's people on other platforms. There's other scoopers saying to me, yeah, there's rumours, now they don't know if these rumours are true, that Henry Cavill will play Superman in DC Elseworlds. Now, again, take not a pinch of salt, take a big handful of salt and keep it in your hands, or toss it over your shoulders for good luck, because I don't know if this is true or not. They've also been rumours spluttered about that he's going to make a big announcement about something at SnyderCon. Now, this is another reason why Zaslav is at CinemaCon. Zaslav is very, very nervous about CinemaCon. For those of you who keep on saying Snyder has moved on, there's going to be a Man of Steel Q&A via Vero and via SnyderCon 2. Now, I think SnyderCon 2 is through Friday to Sunday, if I'm right. So there's definitely a Man of Steel Q&A. I'm assuming there's going to be a Batman versus Superman Dawn of Justice Q&A as well. I would just assume so. So for someone who wants to move on, he's giving us mixed signals. He's like that girl that dumped us, right? But keeps on turning up and kissing you on the lips when you walk her home, even though she dumped you, she cheated on you, right? Not that Zack has ever cheated on DC fans, right? Look, it's in Zack Snyder's best interests to keep everyone, hooked and believe there's a chance to restore the Snyderverse. Why? Because this whole SnyderCon event, the motivation behind it is to raise money for suicide prevention. That's what Zack cares about the most. Of course, he'd love to restore the Snyderverse and finish his story. Of course, I'm not saying he doesn't want that. What I'm saying is he's never going to say he's moved on, because then you, the fans, us, the fans, won't donate. As many of us won't donate to suicide prevention. Of course, I still would, because I think it's important. It's an important issue. It's one of the most important charities in the world. But there's a lot of people, if he said I'm moving on, who just thought, you know what, Zack, I'm moving on. I'm not going to get involved anymore in all this stuff because you're not coming back. And so he's going to keep people on the hook for as long as he can. But it's going to be interesting, right? Let's see what the trends are on Twitter for CinemaCon, and what the trends are going to be for SnyderCon in those 3 days, over the weekend. This weekend coming, not this weekend, the following weekend. Let's see. So it's going to be interesting. So, of course, David Zaslav is utterly nervous. But, of course, this stuff going on at SnyderCon couldn't have happened without Zaslav's or and Adby and DeLuca's permission. So they've given their permission. So it's all very curious. I mean, as far as I know, Henry Cavill is going to be at this Q&A at SnyderCon 2. I think Gal's going to be there. I think many Snyderverse actors are going to be there. I'm not sure about Ben, but I think they're all going to be there. So it's fucking insane. So he's celebrating the entire Snyderverse with the permission of Warner Brothers Discovery. So it's an insane situation. So why? Why is this going on? Is it just a simple celebration of the Snyderverse to raise money for suicide prevention? Maybe, probably, most probably, more than likely. But if we get the old tinfoil hat, oi, Chris Wogg-Svensson, you don't need it anymore. He doesn't even wear it anymore. He's travelling the world right now. I'm seeing pictures of him on Twitter here, there and everywhere. I hope you're having a good time, Chris. But let's put our tinfoil hat on. Could it be that we're going to get a big announcement about the future of the Snyderverse at SnyderCon 2? Probably not. Very, very unlikely. If we're going to be logical, we're going to say, nah, this is just a nice celebration. We're going to have all the actors there. It's going to be fun. Nothing important's going to happen apart from that. Let's take it for what it is. Let's enjoy it for what it is. Yes, let's do that. But let's have a bit of hope. Let's live in fantasy land. It doesn't really hurt anyone, does it? If we fantasize about maybe a big announcement about the future of Restore the Snyderverse. It would be sensational. They do have a DC Elseworlds banner now. So, Zack being a part of DC Elseworlds, Henry being Superman in DC Elseworlds doesn't hurt James Gunn. But of course, there's going to be a situation where if Snyder's stuff works and takes interest away from James's DC universe, then obviously that will be a concern. Personally, I think there's room for everyone to maneuver. And if Zack's stuff was to work and James's wasn't, it's because James hasn't done a good enough job. You can't blame Zack Snyder. Now this is interesting. I forgot to mention this as well, by the way. I saw this on Twitter. Very funny. And people have already told me this, by the way. So apparently, WB are blaming James Gunn and Peter Safran for announcing too much information too soon about the new DC universe. And they're blaming that for the failure of Shazam! Fury of the Gods. Listen, it's not just James Gunn's and Peter Safran's fault. It's you, David. You all came out and announced the DC studios and a new universe. James Gunn was constantly teasing us with comic book panels and a Superman Legacy movie and pretty much telling us that this DCEU stuff we're getting this year doesn't matter. So what did you think was going to happen? You know what I said 6 months ago. I wouldn't have announced DC Universe yet. I would have allowed these movies to come out. I wouldn't have made any comments, right? Any comments whatsoever. Now, you could have announced James Gunn as DC Studios co-CEO alongside Peter Safran. That doesn't hurt. They could have come out and said, we're very excited that there's finally a DC Studios. We're looking forward to these movies. That's it. And then every time a movie is going to be released, go and watch this brilliant DC movies. DC Studios is proud to present Black Adam, Shazam! Fury of the Gods, The Flash movie, Blue Beetle and Aquaman and The Lost Kingdom. Say nothing more than that. Don't talk. Don't say anything. Keep your fucking mouth shut, which is impossible for someone with an ego as huge as James Gunn's. And this is where the damage has been done. He constantly digs himself holes that he can't get out of. Like the Ben Affleck directing a DC Universe movie. He's hyped everyone up. Now he hasn't exactly said, oh, the DCEU doesn't matter, these films don't matter, but he may as well have done because he's talking about a new universe, a new timeline. He said it via the Flash movie. He said that, not us. He said that. So the audience, and I get it on my lives here and when I'm doing a premiere, what's the point? These movies don't matter. Now, of course, no. In the way of them meaning anything for the future, most probably they don't matter. I think if any movie's successful, maybe they will. be involved. If the Flash movie is successful, they're going to have to use Ezra and Sasha and maybe even Michael Keaton. I mean, how long has he got left on this earth anyway? Sorry, Michael. I mean, you're brilliant. I want you to live forever, but you're no spring chicken, right? I mean, we're all getting older, right? Let's be honest about it. And so it's all about box office. But if James Gunn, David Zaslav just kept their mouths shut through this year and didn't say a thing, these movies probably would have done better. So what you get now is you know that these movies are irrelevant and this is part of the old timeline. Because we know in the end of the Flash movie, a new timeline will be introduced. I'm very excited to see what kind of leaks we're going to get from CinemaCon. A massive day on Tuesday. Now don't forget, I'm in Europe, Cyprus, so my time difference is very different to the States. So basically, when you get the DC Universe Daily on Tuesday, there will be no information about CinemaCon because it wouldn't have happened in America yet. But on Wednesday, I should be able to be revealing to you and reacting to everything that happened DC related at CinemaCon, and that, my friends, is very, very exciting. I feel bad for David Ayer. I feel for the guy. What happened to him with his Suicide Squad film was terrible and as disgusting as what they did to Zack Snyder. And bless him, his voice is getting louder and louder in fighting for his cut. Now, he's also said he wants to give James Gunn the chance to develop his universe and for some films to come out to get some wins. So he's not demanding that James does anything now, but apparently Gunn has promised to help him afterwards. That's what Gunn said to him, give me a chance to get my feet under the table. I believe there's a chance that we will hear something about release the Ayer cut sooner rather than later. Maybe on Tuesday's CinemaCon. Maybe at Tuesday's CinemaCon. I think that's what I'm getting. It's very interesting because Ayer has allowed certain fans to watch his Ayer cut. Now, unfortunately, I'm not one of those fans, but people like Will Rowling on Twitter and different people, Snyderverse stands, people like that, supporters, real supporters with big followings. Why has Ayer allowed this to happen? Because people, supporters, who are going to be positive with big followings can say it's a great movie, yeah, we really need to see this movie. I'm desperate to see this movie. I want to see the music, I want to see the VFX, I want a finished movie. Because David said he wouldn't mind it being unfinished and released. I don't know. No. I want to see a finished version of the Ayer cut. And I believe we are close to an announcement. Why? It's just the feeling I get. How long have you lot been following me? Since 2018. I've been on this platform. This platform started around July of 2018. You know my gut feelings. All the stuff I get right, a quarter of the time, it's my gut feeling because I know the industry. I'm part of the industry. I know how these people think and work. And I just think we're very, very close to an announcement of the release of the Ayer cut. And as I say, it's something that will make me utterly excited because this is a film with a proper composed score, not radio music. Not that I don't like songs. I just don't particularly need, 20 songs being part of, a soundtrack of a movie. So I've never listened to the original Suicide Squad theatrical cut soundtrack because it's all fucking songs. Now, if I want to listen to songs, I'll play the songs that I like, right? From my Spotify or something. I don't want to hear songs, right? Now, obviously, in Joker 2, Follow Your Do, there's going to be lots of original songs from Lady Gaga, and that's great, and that's exciting. I love that with The Bodyguard from Whitney Houston, starring the great Kevin Costner. That's different. But we're talking about CBMs, and I like a proper composed score. One of the things I like about George Lucas's Star Wars is the brilliant composed music from John Williams. And it really, motivates you as part of the movie. And, so I love a good score. So, yes, I'm desperate to see David Ayer's version of the Suicide Squad because what happened to him was utterly bad because they didn't fire him. They made him rewrite it. I think Jeff Johns may have rewrote it a little. Basically, they told him what to rewrite and what to do. So he's got to direct shit that he didn't want to. And then they got a pop music video company to edit the fucking movie. That's probably even worse than what they did to Snyder. Because literally it's like grabbing someone's head and making them watch while someone they love is tortured. That's what they did to David Ayer. And it's horrible. So if anyone deserves for their cut of a movie to come out, it's David Ayer. This is not a director's cut. It's his fucking version of the movie. The whole cast, crew and David sweat blood and tears to make this movie. So I want to see this movie. And there's no need to wait. Let's announce it now. And I think in those terms, something is coming. So I believe there's a good chance, I'm not saying definitely, that we're going to get the official casting for Superman Legacy at CinemaCon. They're definitely going to screen the Flash movie. They're most probably going to announce the rest of the slate for Gods and Monsters. And I think they may even announce the Ayer cut release date at CinemaCon as well. So Tuesday for DC fans is a day of destiny. And I can't wait. And once it's all unfolded, we're going to react to it via me here on Movies TV Mad. You won't miss a beat if you're a DC fan. So please, please keep it Movies TV Mad. This has been Saturday's edition of the DC Universe Daily with me, Mick, your host with the most. Just ask your girlfriends and your wives. Please like, share, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you never miss this beautiful perfection. Oh yeah, ladies. I'm much better than your boy, so smash the like button if you love me. Subscribe if you're new. Please have your say. And until we see each other again, yes, parting is sweet sorrow. I will see you again soon. Goodbye, and thank you for your support. It means a lot. Keep it DC, keep it Superman. We will win in the end, even if WB have to sell DC to somebody else. And that is probably the option that may happen next year. We'll have to wait and see. But you're going to find out everything because it's all very exciting. And whatever happens, good or bad, it's interesting, right? There's never a dull moment being a part of this DC universe. So keep it here, Movies TV Mad, and I will keep you updated. So until tomorrow, goodbye.